Mnemonics and Vocabulary Instruction by Jocelyn Gomez for SPE 56. Intervention Description. The purpose of teaching mnemonics and vocabulary instruction is to allow students to remember the meanings of words. Mnemonics is creating phrases or short phrases to associate with the vocabulary word that is being taught. So for example, to remember directions such as north, east, south, and west, the phrase could be never eat sour watermelon. And then we have a compass down at the bottom, and then we match up north with never, east with eat, south with sour, and west with watermelon. Here we have another example of mnemonics, except this time we're using it to learn vocabulary. So what you can do is take a word that is unknown and use a keyword and picture to allow the student to remember that word. So for example, we have the word belittle. And for the keywords, we would have be and little with the definition of belittle, which is making someone seem unimportant. And then we have a picture of an older person yelling down on a younger person who's much smaller. So we connected the word belittle with the keywords being little, and then we have the picture of a person who's little or younger or smaller than the older person, taller, making them seem less important. This slide just has a link to a video that you can watch related to mnemonics, and it just gives you more examples of how it could be used and the relation between helping remembering certain words. So the setting for the articles that were looked at ranged from elementary to high school. And the study by Uberti et al. Took place in the classroom with the special education teacher looking at what effect the keyword method had. The second study by Condis et al. Mentions that the study was conducted at elementary school, but the students that participated in the study are at the age of students that would be known to be in the middle school. The rest of the four studies provided the intervention strategies to students in the classroom that are in high school. The articles take place throughout the U.S., and in the study by Terrell et al., the students that participated were part of a self-contained special education classroom. The other three articles by Fontana et al., Kennedy et al., and Harris et al. Were conducted in an inclusion classroom where a majority of the special education services received by the students were embedded into the assignments that were given to them. Being included in general education allows for the student to participate in the same activities as their peers and still be able to pick on other aspects being with their peers. The participants in these studies range from elementary age students to high school age students 8 through 16. All participants were also students with a type of learning disability. Uberti et al. Works with 3 third-grade classrooms, which all of the third-grade classrooms each had 4 students with what were identified as a learning disability. Kennedy et al. And Terrell et al. Studied students with disabilities that were in the 10th grade. The first study looked at 32 students, and the second looked at 8 students. Fontana et al. Included 13 students in the study, and for Harris et al., there were a total of 32 girls and 27 boys that were included in that study. Terrell et al. Used a multiple choice test at the end of the 6 weeks in order to assess if the mnemonic condition or the non-mnemonic condition showed improvement in the participants' vocabulary. Kennedy et al. Used multiple choice to check for the correct understanding of word definition and open-ended to check for the student's ability to develop their own definition and understanding of the vocabulary word. Uberti et al. And Harris et al. Used pre-test and post-test as their assessment to check for progress after the classroom strategies had been taught. The that were given in the study by Harris et al. Tested for the use of the strategy and not the meaning of words. Fontana et al. And Kennedy et al. Used a series of assessments to check for understanding of the strategies and vocabulary words that were taught. Condas et al. Used post-tests right after the intervention had been applied, as well as to check for maintenance. It was found that the mnemonic condition was greater 91.7% than the non-mnemonic condition 48.8% by Terrell et al. There was a significant increase in results through all the studies when the post-test was given. Uberti et al. Showed that students with learning disabilities scored higher on the post-test than students who didn't have learning disabilities. The post-test scores also showed that there was a difference in improvement across the conditions that were given according to Uberti et al. All the scores of the post-test showed that no one strategy worked better than others according to the study by Harris et al. When the PEST approach was used, it was noticed that the students were engaged right away to get it completed. Results for this study assessment showed that students with learning disabilities improved their spelling by 1.5 to 2.5 words by Harris et al.'s study. Fontana et al. Used open-ended criterion reference unit tests, a strategy use survey, and a multiple choice, all of which showed a 100% increase from previous scores. The study that was conducted by Condas et al. Found that there was a significant difference in results for the students who were given the key word strategy condition. To start the implementation of the strategy, the teacher will start off by making an anchor chart with a definition of what mnemonic means, and the class will copy it into their notes section of their journal. So if you look at the illustration on the right, we have the word mnemonics followed by the definition, creating phrases or short sayings to associate with the vocabulary word that is being taught. And then we have the examples presented earlier. To remember directions such as north, east, south, and west, and the phrase could be never eat sour watermelon. Or the example of the word belittle, with having the key words be and little, with the definition making someone seem unimportant, and the illustration of a taller person talking down to a smaller person. Once the students have taken their notes, they will each get a copy of a grade level reading text and read through it together. They will be instructed to highlight or underline any words they do not know. The class will come together to make a vocabulary list of common words not understood after reading the text. Once the list has been made, the teacher will pick 2 words from the vocabulary list and model the mnemonic strategy for the class. For example, if the word being modeled is days, the teacher will think of a key word. For this, we'll use the word maze that will help the students remember the word and the definition. The teacher will then relate the key word maze to the definition of daze, which is a state of confusion. They will find the definition using the dictionary. After that, a picture of a maze and a person being confused will be connected for the word daze. So looking at the example on the right, we have the word daze, the definition, a state of confusion, and the key word maze. And just below, we have a picture of a maze with a person's arm sticking out and a little flag that says help. With this picture and the key word, the hope with the strategy is to make the connection to the word daze and helping them remember it. Once the strategy has been modeled by the teacher will model it again, except the second time, enlisting the help from the students. When the teacher begins to enlist help from the students, the teacher will say, "What is our next word?" The students will say, "Different." The teacher will write the word different, and the students will copy the teacher. The teacher will then say, "Let's look up the word different in the dictionary, and when someone has found it, please raise your hand to let the class know." Once the student has raised their hand, call on the student for the definition of the word different. The student should say something along the lines of, not the same as another or each other. The teacher will write it down and the students will copy. The teacher will then say, we need a key word for the word different. What word or words could we use? Students can say not the same. The teacher will say, now we need a picture of things that are not the same. Students will come up with multiple ideas. Use the one that may be most relatable to students. If a student says a circle and a square, draw those shapes as a representation of them being different. When the teacher has completed modeling for the students with their help, the teacher will have the class work with their shoulder partner in using the mnemonic strategy for the rest of the vocabulary words that were listed. The students will save the last two words on their list to apply the strategy independently. Once the students have reached their last two words, they will be given 2 sheets of construction paper and markers to create examples using the mnemonic strategy on their remaining words. At this time, the teacher will be walking around to check for understanding by asking questions and obtaining answers orally. The teacher will also see if the strategy is being implemented the way it should be for the rest of the vocabulary words. Listed below were the resources that were used to create this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.